So part number 2, the style law of fit. This is related to what we just talked about. So I talked about fit, function, and fabric. And many of you guys are thinking, Antonio, where should I focus first? Where do I give my effort? Okay, so if we take those 3, the style law of fit, as it says, fit is going to be the most important. And fit is greater than function, and function is greater than fabric. So I alluded to this in the last section, but let's talk a little bit about what do I mean by fit, what do I mean by function, what do I mean by fabric. Okay, so the fit of your clothing doesn't matter if it's a sports jacket, doesn't matter if it's a suit, doesn't matter if it's casual athletic clothing that you're wearing to the gym. You want it to fit your body type. There's a wide range of body types out there, from short and husky to short and round to short and thin to tall and thin to tall and husky to regular size but maybe having a bit of a beer gut to guys that have a pear shape. They've just got really wide hips, narrow shoulders. What we're aiming for and what happens when you wear clothing that actually fits you is it starts to offset those things that are outside the average. There was a study, I think it was at the University of California, Irvine. They talked about how we are drawn to averages, and averages to us become beautiful. That's why, the media is putting out all these things of what the ideal woman looks like, what the ideal man looks like, and it changes from culture to culture. But what you don't want to do is have something extreme. Even if you're an extreme bodybuilder, believe it or not, that is not so much attractive. I mean, it's much more attractive than being extremely obese. But being an extreme bodybuilder, I can tell you, and having spoken with a number of women, and based off of studies of what they're going to choose, they're oftentimes going to go for a leaner cut man than they are for one who has huge muscles that just make them look like He-Man. It's just not something, it's outside of the norm, and oftentimes we're drawn into what is more normal or what is the ideal in the society. So with the fit of the clothing, I like to use the example of a jacket because it trims up the waist, makes the shoulders look a little bit larger, actually makes your hands look a little bit bigger because it draws attention to them. All of these are great things when it comes to looking strong, to looking masculine as a man. And that's the importance of fit. Now let's talk about function. So function when it comes to clothing is specifically, and there are different parts of the function, but how does it function for your particular environment? Now, I'm in Wisconsin, it gets cold. It gets pretty warm during the summer, not super warm, but it does get cold in the winter. And so the function of my clothing needs to be able to keep me warm. It needs to be able to keep me dry. It needs to be able to keep me, from getting hypothermia. So that is part of the function of my clothing. But also the function of the clothing is it needs to be actually useful for my environment. I live in a small town and I'm surrounded by farmers. And I can tell you that my clothing would not suit their needs. The dairy farmers around here, they love Carhartt, not because it's fashionable and you see the hipsters in the big cities wearing it. These guys wear it because it actually takes care of their body. It protects them. My friend Jesse, he's got a farm just right up the road here, and I just saw him in his new Carhartt suit. He was kind of happy, wearing it, but he told me, hey, I'm going to end up trashing it because we've got, maple syrup season. He's got to go tap all the trees. And this guy's going to be out in the spring weather, which here in Wisconsin is relatively cold. He's got this just the sap. This stuff does not, he's got to be careful with it. But he's got the clothing that actually is functional. Oh, another thing about Carhartt, they actually make the armholes a bit higher. And the reason they do that is it gives a man more freedom of movement. Again, applying to the function. If you don't have the function, if you wear a suit to an event, let's say a Green Bay Packer football game, unless you're sitting in the VIP boxes up there, and even then, I don't really know if that's the right attire to be wearing on a Sunday in Green Bay. Maybe New York City if you're at a New York Giants game. The point is you want to dress for the occasion, and that is function. Now, let's talk about fabric. Now, this goes beyond fabric. I use the word, but what I mean is the overall construction and build of the garment, the quality of the individual pieces used. So we use Carhartt as an example. Overall, much of what they make is actually pretty good quality. I'm not really an endorsement for the brand because I don't own as much Carhartt as I used to. However, when I climbed radio communication towers, I can tell you that, I oftentimes, I remember I bought Dickies, and Dickies is pretty good too, but Carhartt was looked at as that's almost like the Rolls Royce for that farm gear or that working gear. And there's the same thing when it comes to sports jackets, suits. You want the function, you want the stitching to be good quality, but you also want the fabric to be the best you can afford. And I know a lot of you guys out there, you can't afford $2,000 for a sports jacket. That's totally fine. What you want to make sure, though, is that you do get the best that you can afford, that you're watching for those sales. That maybe you're going to Neiman Marcus and you're watching, okay, this jacket's normally $800. It's on sale for $100, $200. Boom, you jump on it and you get actually pretty good stitching, pretty good quality fabric at a fair price, and you were willing to wait on it. But we'll get into, that kind of stuff here. All right, gentlemen. So the main point of section number 2, the style law of fit, is to focus in on fit. If you've got to make a choice, fit trumps function, trumps fabric.